Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley and we are obviously Napoleon Total War. So this is going to be a multiplayer battle, myself as Prussia and my enemy is going to be Spain. So the rules are I think maximum 3 artillery and then maximum 5 of these ranged units. So to my disappointment, my opponent decided to take that as a sign that, oh look, I have 3 artillery, let's go ahead and camp. Now, I don't know, camping is just frustrating in this game. I mean, look how he's boxing up his cav against the red line. He's just waiting for me to come back here. I'd be fine if we have like a defensive battle where he uses cannons, if you were to like push him up halfway. But he did not move an inch. So that's my grudge with these battles. Already Napoleon battles take so long. It's really disappointing when players sit back. And maybe I'm just a little bit ticked off because I played a couple battles before this where the same thing happened. So it was unfortunate. Anyways, I'm just going to share this battle because I get super aggressive after my disappointment in previous battles where I was just absolutely pissed off on these similar tactics. So I'm going to charge forward with my 2 artillery. In previous battles where there was artillery allowed, I didn't bring any, mostly because I don't like to rely on artillery, and I just charge up, took heavy losses and won. This time I was like, alright, you want to play that game? We'll play that game. So I'm pulling my artillery across. These guys are very, very quick, and they've been lucky enough to avoid most of the batteries from his, yeah, you can see how most of those, are bouncing right next to my guys, so very brave troops. I have Lancers in the back to support them, and not much else to support them. I mean, my troops are lagging. Let's go ahead and see what I brought. So 2 of these artillery guys, I wanted to position them on this side to get a huge, flank on his entire force. And I'm backing that up with some troops. So Fusiliers will be good for beating back some cavalry as they make their approach, and then my own Lancers to intercept his cav. Up in the center I have 4 of these Prussian Fusiliers, 1 in a huge massive line to soak up fire, 3 to support in the back, and I'm going to slowly push that forward. Then I have foot guards paired with, those are militia units right there. And then I have, again, 3 militia units. This is a big fodder unit I'm going to throw right up the center, basically. And then my general here, and then some more line of foot on the right. Anyways, let's watch this approach. My enemy figured he'd have to take out my artillery. Thought it'd be an easy battle. Wow, look at that. So he's going to charge right up the front. And that's where I'm going to just sick both of my artillery, enable battery mode, and you can just see, look at how obliterated those guys were. Switch to chain shot, finish those guys off, and all I had to do was threaten him with a Lancer charge, and I pulled back. He decided to retreat, lost 1 unit, the other one's heavily depleted, and here comes another battery. He's down to 40 men. Now he's going to sick another infantry unit, and it looks like he's going to be trying to, okay, cavalry don't work, let's now try infantry, and he's going to at least back that up with, artillery barrage. But I positioned my guys specifically all the way on this front, because I knew that his batteries over here would have a really hard time firing at my units. And these guys themselves are going to have overlapping fire. I was hoping they would shoot themselves, but he positioned himself diagonally, so that was a pretty good move. In any case, now that he's moving up, he's taking combined fire. He sees that his morale is dropping, so he's going to pull back. Let's go ahead and watch this front. So we're just going to enjoy this a little bit as I'm starting to get some shots off. And the ground is just shaking because we're taking lots of cannon fire from the front. And here comes a Fricourt charge up through the center because he's counteracting with cavalry. I had my own dispensable cavalry just on like intercept duty, so we can watch this. Let's go ahead and minimize the map. So here he comes up the center at great cost. He was hoping to knock out all my light troops. I knew they weren't guarded, but I knew in this type of depth and with cavalry to intercept. Look in the distance, I already intercepted and slaughtered 1 of his Portuguese cav. The other one, yes, is going to be in close quarter combat, but look at all these ranks of fire I have in the back. Something I like about Napoleon Total War is these militia units. They're super useful for just plugging gaps like this. So you can see 2 of these militia units just, they're otherwise going to soak up this charge that came back around here, and they're going to help to clean up this front. So I've wasted my opponent's cav here. The other cavalry units were beaten back by my cavalry charge. I tried to land a strike on his square. However, these infantry form up square actually very rapidly, so you have to pull out of those engagements. You can see how my guys are already having a big trouble with their morale, but that's why I brought backup troops. So now we have all 3 types of units, all how do you put this? Concentrating fire on 1 infantry unit. So 6-pounder horse artillery continuously shelling these guys. If they were to break out of formation, I would charge them with my cav. When he forms up to the block like that, it's easier for my artillery to hit, and it's much easier for my skirmishers to hit. And then, yeah, here you can see what happens if you don't form up in square. So I think my opponent was a little bit new to this game. He was, I don't know, caught too much on the defensive and would send out troops slowly in all directions. And look at what he has to look at on this front. Massive numbers of troops in the center. His right flank is collapsing. And so he's sort of starting to panic. He's going to send up some Portuguese cav. Over on this front, he got way too close with the Caçador, so I decided to counter very aggressively with some of my Prussian line. You can just watch them get volleys off. And that's, I guess I missed Napoleon. Haven't played in a couple games, or in a couple weeks, excuse me. But yeah, I was able to play a couple games, and the graphics are really fun. The smoke effects on the battlefield, the pace is different, and yeah, it's tons of fun. I really enjoyed this. And here, this is the cavalry strike that my opponent was always looking for on this front. So he breaks through with his Portuguese cav, and I have nothing really to back this up. My own horses were routed. So once once that Lancer unit is routed, then this is where this formation falls apart, because cavalry can charge my Prussian Fusiliers, and I'm getting some shots off, both of my units, but none of these shots are really going to connect, and so his guys are going to be free to choose which artillery unit to go for afterwards. Anyways, this is a pretty formidable defense. Once these guys get on canister shot, it's going to be pretty ugly for my guys. So that's why I'm sending just one Fusilier guy to soak it up. Hope my opponent sinks all of his shots on this Fusilier unit. And then just combine fire on this front. Rolling up this flank with foot guards who have really good shots, obviously, being elite foot guards. My opponent is going to deploy some dudes to come and contest this side of the battlefield. I'm going to move some of these militia troops. And here you go. This is the problem again. I wasn't microing this. I should have just changed to canister shot at this point, because look at this. I think we get a volley last moment as he charges forward. Oh man, if I had been on canister shot, we still knock off one guy. He probably would have been routed, but now he's going to be able to sort of pick off my two artillery units. I position a militia here just to ward off these guys so they don't attack this line. All in the front, I got more foot guards, more militia, all pouring forward. So this position is in desperate straits for my opponent. Let's just go ahead and push along the front. So I guess we could talk about the latest CA news, which is basically how they were saying there's going to be a new Total War announced soon. A lot of people, or some people, were saying they would love to see a World War I game. I think that's highly unlikely and really not possible to work. If you look at the history of World War I, well, first off, it didn't take much time. Like the battle itself, or the war itself, was just over the course of several years. You can't have the fundamental empire building and city building and all that stuff. You can't really do any of that in that short of a time frame. Second problem is going to be diplomacy. At that point, yes, of course there was diplomacy, but the main point of the war is that you come into the war with entangling alliances. So what options do you have that force you to go to war? And then once everyone's at war, it's kind of a fight to the death with really little alliance diplomacy. So you're not going to be running around, oh hey, as a British, hey, Germany, do you want to trade, or do you want to do do you want to change some territories or whatnot? No, it's just supposed to be all out war. So on the city building front, on the diplomacy front, it's not going to be much. Basically all it will be is internal politics of trying to force your people into war, recruit as many troops as possible, it'll be a lot about propaganda if you were to make this thing, because that was a huge part of the First World War. And then the battles themselves were nothing anyone had expected. These generals who had gone to military schools and learned, this is what you do in certain situations, or who had theorized all these things about how the war should have gone, all of that fell flat on its face. And so you won't have any conventional tactics. The battles, people were not anticipating the amount of killing power of all these forces. And so you would have basically in some of the early stages of World War I, you'd have huge forces like this, like literally Prussian guys, the Germans, would form up in infantry blocks and say, okay, we're going to move in column formation, kind of like Napoleon tactics, swarm, charge out. They even had cavalry sometimes on the rear lines who would, now we've made a gap, let's charge through with cavalry and ride the enemy down. That didn't work at all. You have literal blocks of infantry moving forward against machine gun positions, getting mowed down. You have sort of the rape of Belgium as Germans were moving, what was it, like 1 million troops through Belgium, and just a couple, the Belgian army held up, and they decimated the about 36,000 advanced stormtroopers that the Germans had set out. And so it's just a massacre. So the battles themselves that can't be handled in total war. I mean, the battles are super huge. First and foremost, they would have been long lines. The Western Front was basically from Switzerland all the way to the English Channel. How are you going to do that on a battle? And then the battles themselves, you know, it's charge forward and get machine gunned, or sit in a trench and wait out. And then there's stuff like poison gas. Is that going to be a battlefield element? So I don't know. They're never going to make a World War I Total War. It's almost impossible to do, just because of all those reasons I listed. So I think someone had also mentioned that Fall of the Samurai was as far forward in time they would do. If you're looking for more modern combat, I think you can look at Red Dragon. You can look at games like Ruse and stuff like that. Those are more geared towards larger engagements. I think Total War should really stick to this type of fighting, as you know, as far forward as it can go. A lot of people are hoping to see Empire 2 and whatnot, maybe a return to Napoleon. I don't know. I think what would get me most excited, despite the hype that I put around a Warhammer title, you know, I wouldn't be super excited about that, because again, what are you going to do for diplomacy? I don't know. What are you going to do for buildings if you're like a rat population, or like the Skaven that I had mentioned? So I think the thing I would be most interested to watch is between end of the Roman Empire towards medieval, so you could kind of go into the Franks, the Carolingian era, all that stuff, all sorts of changing kingdoms in that part, the crumbling of the remains of the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, and then, you know, that's one category, but I think I would be most happy for the China Total War that I've mentioned before. A lot of history to go through, and you know, kind of similar combat to the Rome 2, but you would start getting a little bit of gunpowder in the later periods. It would sort of be like Barbarian Invasion with Mongols coming in and all that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick throwback to Napoleon. Played a quick battle. It was relatively easy, but it allowed us to discuss, and then you could, you know, see a little bit of a refreshing look at, you know, grand scheme of combat later in the period, as opposed to just Rome 2, Rome 2, Rome 2, Rome 2. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.